This week heralded a huge win for the hardcore climate cultists. You know, the ones that like to swing from bridges, hold up peak hour traffic, glue themselves to pavement, interrupt your everyday life in their belief that if they just infuriate you often enough, you will be converted by their passionate delusions. Well, as of Wednesday, thanks to the Supreme Court of New South Wales, you can expect a lot more of this.
I'm here as a supporter of Fireproof Australia. Two people down there calling to flood-proof Australia. They're glued onto the road and they will be here to defend our beautiful country.
If we do take a stand, we can achieve so much. I am one person, I'm locked onto one car, and the entrance to this tunnel is blocked.
Turns out those U-Butte tough laws New South Wales brought in late last year to lay the smackdown on these crackpot menaces to society, you know, the ones with a maximum $22,000 fine and or 2 years jail, sounded good at the time, but turns out those laws weren't entirely constitutional. As a side note, if the politicians in this country could stop making laws that turn out to be unlawful, that'd be great. The matter of over 140 detainees springs to mind, but it seems to be happening with embarrassing regularity these days. So anyway, the Supreme Court on Wednesday struck out the parts of said legislation which make unlawful protests which cause persons attempting to use a major facility to be redirected and cause part of a major facility to be closed. Basically, unless the whole facility has to be closed down or the facility is damaged, these protesters now know they can cause major disruption to us without suffering any consequences whatsoever. The court said that these provisions were invalid because they infringe on the, quote, implied freedom of political communication in Australia's constitution. Wow, where was that when people peaceably protesting for something as basic as bodily autonomy were treated like criminals? Where's this implied freedom of political communication at a time when the only person getting attention from police during these massive from the river to the sea fests every weekend is the lone guy sporting an Israeli flag? Honestly, do me a favour. Our own government is currently debating a disinformation bill that'll kill freedom of political communication dead 7 ways to Sunday. But hey, let's ensure it's as good as gospel when it comes to the climate-crazy cult's right to hold the rest of us to ransom on a whim. The Supreme Court has effectively given protesters like green light to block access to major facilities like ports, railway stations. And this is what Premier Minns had to say.
Can I just cycle all the way back to the reason for these laws being in place and why Labor supported them? People were doing, frankly, stupid things, putting themselves in extreme danger to make what they termed political protests, hanging from cranes that were located on top of railway lines, chaining themselves to roads with heavy vehicles operating in the vicinity. It would only take a split second for a worker not to see a protester lying on the ground, for example, to see a tragedy take place.
I thought the laws were supposed to protect us, Minns. At least that's how they were sold to us at the time. Of course, the Premier could appeal this decision, take it to the High Court. The idea that the rest of us have to just keep sucking it up and make our way around these people while they throw tantrums is absurd. But of course, the government will never truly lay the smackdown on these climate cultists. Government is not going to punish their own loyalists. These crackpots are useful idiots, passionately championing the government's own green dream agenda, driven by the UN and blessed by the World Economic Forum. To date, this particular breed of protester has yet to get more than a rap on the knuckles from our courts of law. You may remember in May, a magistrate commended high-profile New South Wales environmental activist Violet Coco's protest activity, calling it noble. She just graffitied a police station and tried to superglue her arm to their window, but okay. Earlier this month, a magistrate told 4 Extinction Rebellion protesters that they were esteemed members of the community after they pled guilty to charges of interfering with public meeting proceedings. To be clear, the right of protest is sacred and should be protected at all costs. But do you think the same latitude would be shown to protesters not pushing the government's barrow? Recent history says absolutely not.